Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey, Radio Bypass listeners. It's time to turn you on to another new band. Very excited to be joined today by Chris McLernon from the band Kinell. And you might also know him from Saigon Kick, but the new band is Kinell. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Rob. How are you?
I am great, and it is great to talk to you.
You as well.
So I was pretty excited to learn about Kinell, that I got turned on to your first single from your new album, Take It All. Great track.
Thank you.
And I found it kind of interesting in reading the information that came along with it. I think that, in fact, I've got it. I printed it out so I could make sure I quoted it correctly. Can you write and record original songs in the spirit and style of a band you love and still create something new?
Yep.
I believe that quote might have come out of your mouth even.
Yep.
And if that first track was supposed to be kind of an homage to Thin Lizzy, I would say, yes, you can do that.
That's exactly what I wanted. With the assignment I gave myself for this record was, if I was to write 10 or so songs for Thin Lizzy now, and like literally say, here's a whole album, and you don't have to do anything but play it because it's going to be so you. That was the goal. So I'm really happy that it came across that clearly.
Yes, it is almost from the very first note too, and that was before I read the information.
Good.
That's why I know you nailed it there. So tell us about this. I mean, this is a new band. I guess, maybe let's start with who's in the band.
It is myself. I do bass and guitar in it. And Colin DeBrule, who is a local guy here in Charleston, who's played seemingly with everybody and did records. And as we were talking about earlier, you can work your butt off in this industry and quote be unknown, but you're seasoned. And that's Colin for sure. And then it's a host of drummers. I think there's 4 or 5 of them on here because it was okay. Are you good at this style? Or are you good at this style? Or like Barry Kirch, who plays on Take It All, but he plays on the long blues number because it's in 6/8, and he's really good at 6/8.
Yeah.
So like you're natural for this one. So it's definitely, it started as like, well, let's see how this goes, because to put a band together and put it on the road and all, that's certainly going to be difficult with Barry and Ricky Sanders, who also plays on it. Barry's in Shinedown and Rick is his drum tech. So there's 2 of the drummers right there. They're kind of busy. Maybe out of the picture. Yeah. Right. But the advantage of digital recording, all that, they can play it, to anything and send it over. And I put it into the track and send it back to them. Does this make sense to you? And we go from there. So it's awesome. The trick is making 4 drummers who record in 4 different places sound like the same place. But we got it. We did it. Yeah. Well, yeah, it doesn't seem to lack any energy, because I used to always think if you don't record in the same room without that camaraderie and everything, you lose some energy. But it doesn't seem to be the guy. I seem to be proven wrong on that, because I've heard many a great record that the energy's there without the guys all being in the same place. So yeah. And with this one, like Rick and I had a company called Two Heads Music, where we did stuff for all the all broadcast and cable and advertising and movie feature or movie trailers and all that. And we did a lot of that remotely. So we got so good at, okay, here's my idea. You can tweak it this way, move back and forth, and it would sound like we were in the same room, because we had to get good at it, because that's what we did. And it was on deadline. And we ended up, I think I have over 900 titles now in ASCAP from all the TV work. Wow. Yeah. Always, it was like, okay, we're making hamburgers. We're not making steaks. Get going. You got to have 2 in by Friday. Get it done. And we did. It was fantastic learning experience. So we transferred that over to this. Like, okay, how do we all record remotely and give it, like you said, that spirit and that feel? We were already pretty good at it. Yeah. That's awesome. So this whole thing is you're kind of the brainchild of this then. You put this project together, this band together. Yep. And then are these, I probably should have read all the credits, which I don't think I did yet. Are these like all your songs then? Did you write all? Yeah, I wrote them. I mean, Colin's ability to throw in a guitar part, like on "Take Me Home," he came up with that intro harmony, which is it's just a crucial hook. And he's just great at that. It's like, I would say, okay, I need something in this spot. Think hooky. Don't think like crazy lead, but think like, again, like Thin Lizzy. Is this another hook to the song as opposed to a vocal hook or a drum hook or whatever? Make it a guitar hook. And he's great at it. So we hadn't worked together. We knew each other. So I was going, well, how's this going to, because you never know, how's this going to go? And from the first thing he sent, I was like, I don't have to worry about him, and I'll just hand it over. And I know when it comes back, I'll be like, at the very worst, can you do the part that you do at the end? Can you do that at the beginning? You know? Right. And I'd edit it maybe and say, can you do this? And he'd nail it and send it back. It was just so easy and so fruitful. It was awesome. Same with the drummers. I just let them go. And they're like, what do you want me to change? I was like, nothing. Leave it alone. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Leave it alone.
Nice. So you wore a lot of hats then. You were the producer as well.
Yeah.
Then I assume editing all this stuff together. You must have been the engineer as well. And the editor. Wow. That must have been a project of love, but also a time-consuming project, I assume.
Yeah, very much so. And it's actually, this record, Crash, Burn, Rebirth, is the first of 3. The second one is all written, all done, except for some drum tracks. So as soon as I get those, I'm hoping the next 3-4 weeks, we can start buttoning that one up. And then the third one is a Western. And this is all, again, under Kinell. So it's all going to be, that very kind of Thin Lizzy ballads in the sense of a story, like Marty Robbins, kind of gunfighter ballads like that. It tells a story ballad, not a love song.
Right.
So it's all about this guy who rides into town, and it turns into kind of a Western ghost story, all like High Plains Drifter. And I'm like, what am I thinking here? I'm going to do a concept record. Okay, sure. But the songs, I really like the songs. So this is a very easy, natural way for me to write. So I love doing it, and it comes very quickly.
Now you mentioned that being kind of a concept record. So is this something that's been floating around in your head for a long time? Did you have some of these songs already, or is this something all new?
There's 1 or 2 that were older tunes, or some like I would have an idea that we had done part of the riff, let's say for the TV show. Like that's useful. I can still use that. Easy Come, Easy Go on the Kinell record is a song I wrote for some TV show, and they didn't want it. I was like, I like it, and everyone I played it for says it sounds like a 70s AM radio hit. I was like,
it kind of does, yes.
Yeah. So I was like, it goes on, it fits, put it on there. Right. So most of the stuff is new. I would say there's a few ideas, like the bass line for Forever After is an older idea. Otherwise, it's all pretty much brand new stuff.
Got it, man. So you've been pretty prolific then, 3 albums worth of material in a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things. I have a instrumental surf band. I have 4 records for that. I'm just finishing up with this super duper heavy thing. I got Phil from Saigon Kick. We did a band when Saigon Kick was on hiatus in '97. We put together this band called Panic Boom, and we just finished that record last October. It only took 25 years, but we're done. So I think COVID for me made me sit down and go, well, I don't want to do nothing. So I know I can record. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything, but I can record it and I can write. So get it all out. Yeah. And the more you push, the more you get.
Right. I think that happened with a lot of musicians. With having nothing else, you sit in your little studio or your room, or backyard, wherever you might have gone.
Yeah, and now they're all on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Which, thank goodness, that was able to come back finally.
Yeah,
even though we'll never be rid of COVID, but
right.
In fact, I just got a notification on my phone today that California is no longer doing this thing with alerting you if you're near another.
Oh, yeah.
Like COVID or something like that. I never understood what it was exactly, but today I got some notification that's been disbanded as of today. So I'm like, okay,
good sign.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So, a couple of things to make, since folks may not be familiar with the band yet, since it's even new to me still. So, One of the things I wanted to ask you, so the name Kinell, in the information I was given, a shortened version of an expression you've probably uttered yourself in moments of amazement or annoyance.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny because I did not pick up on that initially.
Yeah.
Did not go into my head. So
or
did you
pain.
come up with that too?
Yeah. That's from when I was in Cold Sweat. We toured with Dio. So he had a British crew. So you come in and somebody piss on like Kinell. This guy is come in and he says, "Oh God," and they'd be so angry. And I just love that. It's a truncated form of a swear phrase. Kinell. You know, so now friends of mine who didn't get it at first, like, "Oh my God, I heard it. I was watching whatever, and some dude said it." I was like, "That's right." So, and then it looks great, like a Marshall logo, so it works.
It's hilarious. I just thought it was so creative because, like I said, when I first heard the name, I didn't, make much of it. Think, well, Kinell, is that somebody's last name, or what is it? And then when I, got a chance to digest what this was all about, I was like, "Oh my God, that's hilarious!"
Oh, thank you.
I didn't hear it until I saw it. And once you know it, you hear
right.
it.
Right. It's like you can't unring that bell.
No, that's awesome. I thought that was so funny. And then why did you title the album Crash, Burn, Rebirth?
That was, I didn't have a title for it. And Eric Bass, who's a bass player in Shinedown, and he mixed the record for me. And we've been friends for, forever. And he was listening to the song Spatial Survival, which is about the Mandalorian. He just, because I liked the line, me equals MC squared. And I was like, I was going to call it that. And he's like, "No, dude, you're starting over. Crash, Burn, Rebirth. There's your title." I was like, "All right, you're right."
Got it. Yeah, because I like the title. I was just curious how you came about that. And then tell us a little bit about, just want to ask you about a couple of the songs that I think I told you before we started the interview here, that I are my early favorites. So tell me about Say Goodbye, because that right now is probably my number one favorite.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That one is, that started out as a lot of them do. I've gotten so much quicker at writing, where it used to be kind of like you sit down and I forget who said it. It was like Hemingway or someone's like, you sit down at the typewriter and you bleed. That's how you get it done. So, but if you do it enough, you get faster. So for Say Goodbye, the first iteration was all like boy-girl stuff, which is not unlike Thin Lizzy, but it's like, that's been done. And I certainly have enough songs on this record. They're boy and girl songs. And being a Beatle fan, it's okay to have a lot of boy and girl songs. But I was like, what can I make this into something else? And I thought, how about a gambler who is losing his touch? And he's starting to lose. And he used to be the man. Like the line says, a shark in a neon sea. Okay. He starts to lose it. And he's got to say goodbye. He's got to quit. Because otherwise it'll take him down. And I was like, okay, let's switch the point of view to that. And then it kind of just wrote itself, as opposed to just being boy, girl. Oh, we're saying goodbye and I miss you. And oh, we didn't work out. And it's like, okay. The gambler having to force himself out of Vegas or Reno or wherever, Monte Carlo. This is how he's going to do it. And this is him talking himself out of it, or talking himself into it and then out of it and then into it and out of it. So
right. That's pretty cool. And then how about Forever After? Another one I really like on the record.
Thank you. Forever After is about John Wick.
Is it?
Yep. That is all about John Wick, the man with the code. Yep. So at the very end is that tick tock, and then the chambering of the gun. All you're missing is the what are you doing, Mr. Wick? That's so. The whole thing is about what I loved about the Wick movies, and love about them, is that it's this parallel universe of people with a code, but they're killers. Mm-hmm. So they're somehow the worst of the worst, but there is an honor system. Right. I was like, okay, let's see if I can make that work. So of course, with Forever After, you get Dead by John Wick. That's Forever After. But yeah, that's where that came from.
Gotcha. And then, of course, the single, Take It All. Tell us about that one.
Take It All. And I'm going to have a video for it. I'm hoping in the next couple of days, another lyric video. That idea was kind of that Lizzy anthem, that big, lots of tribal drums and the interweaved guitars. And this nice simple phrase of just take it all. And because it reminded me very much of like how he wrote Emerald, which is about coming in and being invaded, and how the Irish had to deal with that because they were invaded by everybody. My thought was, okay, in a modern sense, I pictured someone like Chris Jericho, the wrestler, coming out and into the arena, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to take it all, and just over and over. And I got to talk myself through this, and I got to this and that. But you know what? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take it all. So that was the whole idea. There's like super anthem, but without the trick is with anthems, I've learned is you have to be genuine about it. Otherwise it comes across as really cheesy. And that's a fine, as they say in Spinal Tap, fine line between clever and stupid. You have to be very careful. So that was the goal with that one. And then it ends with a gong. So you can't beat that, right?
You cannot beat that.
No, album opens with a gong and ends with a gong.
Maybe a little cowbell in the middle section.
Oh, sure. Oh, there's a cowbell and take me home. So if you want one, we got it.
Oh, that's great. So this album is available in actual physical form and in download form. Yep. So if somebody wants to pick this up, where are they going?
Go to Bandcamp. Because as we were talking about earlier, I love Bandcamp because they pay you right away. So let's say, for example, someone buys the CD. I mean, I pop it in the mail the next day because they tell me you sold it, and boom, it's gone, it's out. So, and I know for this genre, a lot of people still like the physical copy of it. They like the fact they can own something. And the guy who did the artwork for this, Robert Merrick, we sat down and we thought, okay, let's really make this look like something, since it's very abbreviated packaging, so to speak. But let's give it something to look at, let's make it cool. So we really tried to do something a little special for it, without, breaking the bank for one, or also just giving someone something that they don't need. You don't need, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 fold outs and, that sort of stuff, but make it cool, make it something to look at. I think that's what, like my daughter and my son are so enamored with vinyl, and it's because you have something to hold and look at, and you can read all the fonts. How about that? And it's cool. It's kind of, dinner plate sized, so you can just go, okay, I can get something off this. It's musically nourishing. So that to me with the CD, it was important to just do that as opposed to just, it's a name and it's a picture and it's, the inside is just a silver thing with the titles. No. Do something go a little farther.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great. It's great. So Bandcamp, Kinell, I'll post a link to the exact Bandcamp address, but obviously you can just search Kinell Bandcamp and I'm sure it'll come up. Yeah.
And just look for it's the Marshall amp with the big K, the Marshall cabinet with the big K on the front. Because I guess there's a couple other Kinells, but they're, it's that era where it seems like there's nobody who's got the original, name. I'm sure if I came out with something that said Chris McLernon, there'd be some other guy who's like, oh, hey, I got that first.
Could be. That could be.
It wouldn't surprise me. Not at this point.
Yep. Yeah. And just like when you're looking for domain names too, like everything you think is your own idea that you're the only one that thought of it, you go see if it's available. Somebody's got it already. So
yeah. And they're squatting on it.
And they're sitting on it. Yeah. Because that happened to me even with this show. Radio Bypass was not the first name I came up with for this show. I had a couple other ideas that I wanted, and the domains, because I wanted to have a .com. I could have got a .net of those other names I had come up with. I wanted it to be .com. So I was shocked when I came up with this idea that, finally something's available.
There you go.
All right, so we've got the record. It's out. You released it just a few days ago, right? The first.
It's pretty much just been the last month or so. As we're ramping up all the press and everything for it. And like I said, the video. There's one video out for now that is for What Might Have Been, which is the lead off track on the record, and then the video for Take It All, like I said, hopefully is done Sunday, and then when that's done, that'll push that out there too. And that one, I was talking to Phil, and he said, "What do you see for this?" Because I told him about the other stuff. I said, "Well, visually, I picture like Braveheart, again, being Irish and the fact that we were always invaded, having to fight all that stuff off, and dealing with that history and the Scottish, they had to do the same thing. I was like, you know what, go for a Braveheart vibe, and just see what you get." And other than his spectacular drumming, Phil Verone has discovered the fact that he's a really good video editor at this point in his life. And he's like, just let me do another. I was like, you killed the first one. Go right ahead. So he did. So I'm waiting for. I saw the rough cut of it 2 days ago, and I was like, spell this one word this way, and like that's it. And otherwise, I don't see anything. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Awesome, awesome. So we got that to look forward to very soon, then.
Yep.
And then, the age-old question that I always have to ask, because you never know nowadays. Any live plans for any portion of this band?
Yeah, the revolving door. I think if we do, it'll be here in Charleston, because it'll be the most financially sensible. We had a lot of like people ask with Saigon Kick and it's Cold Sweat all the time. Like, you guys going to tour? You guys going to tour? It's like, no, it's so expensive. There was a I think Avenged Sevenfold was talking about the fact that their buses were going to cost them $2 million a week. You know,
What?
Yeah,
Not just for one bus.
it's probably the fleet, I would think, but still, you know.
Still, yeah, of course.
In the old days, the buses were about $1,000 a day with the driver.
Mhm.
You know, so there's no way that price went down.
No.
You know, and everyone's got other bands in their own lives and whatever. So if we do something, it'd be here in Charleston, I think, which is okay. I mean, I love playing here, and that way I get to have Colin. So we'd have to get another guitar player because I'd want to play bass. Colin's like, no, you got to play guitar. I'm like, but this is Thin Lizzy driven. Like the bass player has to have a certain mentality, like how it goes.
Right.
So we have to get another guitar player, but there's a couple of great guys here. And then the guy who played on Say Goodbye, Eric Rickert, I know he could play all this stuff. A, because he knows all the drummers involved. B, because he could listen to the tracks from the actual Pro Tool sessions and go, okay, that's exactly what's happening. And we did a Thin Lizzy band a couple of years ago called Trouble Boys, and he was the drummer in it. And he'd never played Thin Lizzy before in his life, but he killed it. The whole thing was great. So so he'd be the substitute for all the other drummers, I think.
Gotcha. And, you know, we talked about Thin Lizzy a lot because it means so much for this band. Do you have a favorite Thin Lizzy song that stands above all the rest in their catalog?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. There's a couple that I always go back and listen to that I really love. Waiting for an Alibi.
Good one.
Sun Goes Down.
Good one.
Thunder Lightning. I love Wild One.
How about Emerald?
Love Emerald. Love Emerald. Love Johnny and Rocky and Borderline off of Johnny the Fox. Roshan Dub off of Black Rose. Someone's going to, I know, crucify me on the pronunciation, but, you know, okay. I love the song Renegade. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I got a lot of favorites, but what I liked about his writing was that they were almost like types. Like, okay, here's the one that has this subject matter, or this feel, or this aggression, or this mellow love song feel to it. He was just so stinking versatile. I mean, versatile or virtual. So I mean, if you pick a record, I go, okay, I love that one, and I love that one, and I love that one, and I love that one. Right. Like Bad Reputation, I love Opium Trail.
Well, and Bad Reputation is my top one.
Oh, absolutely.
There was just something extra, the groove of that thing and the ferocity of it. There was just, I don't know, that song. I mean, there's other, like Emerald that I mentioned, of course, I love too. But if I was on a deserted island and could only hear one Thin Lizzy song, Bad Reputation is the one for me. Right.
And the middle section of What Might Have Been is right out of Bad Reputation. I mean, I literally told Mark Danzeisen, the drummer for that one, he said, what do you want this to feel like? I said, well, you know, a lot of that Brian Downey drumming is very jazzy and very R&B-ish. I said, so think that way. This is not rock, you know, don't play a rock feel to it. And right. Mark grew up with that. So he just killed it from the word go. I was like, oh, you add a little congas and let Colin go with the wah-wah. And it sounded, I was like, that's it. I wanted the middle section of Bad Reputation. I got it. When we did the Trouble Boys here, though, we drove Rickard crazy because those breaks are in 5. Just turn yourself around. That's in 5.
Yeah.
So he didn't count. He's like, why is this not working? I said, because they're in 5. You have to do a bar of 5. He's like, I said, that's what you get when the drummer writes the song, you know, because Downey's in on that one. But yeah, I mean, I love Chinatown. I love the riffs for Genocide, which is the Killing of the Buffalo. I love Killer on the Loose. I love. I mean, there's just so many. It's just such a rich catalog. And the sad thing is, he died at like 35 or 36 or something.
Yeah, in his 30s for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you would think today they'd probably throw him in rehab and they'd clean him up and he'd still be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll take what he gave us.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, great catalog. And of course, the main radio songs are really good too. But yeah. It goes much deeper than what you still hear on classic rock radio today, for sure.
Oh, we did one of the gigs. We did Whiskey in the Jar.
Great one.
And they're like, we didn't know what you were doing, and then you did that Metallica song, and it was awesome. We were like, no, it's not Metallica. No. And then you did Boys Are Back in Town. I was like, yeah, I know this is America, and that's the only ones people know. All right, okay, but yeah, they go crazy over Whiskey in the Jar. Like,
but because they know it from Metallica, that's funny. Yeah, wonder if that happens with Turn the Page from Bob Seger too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I would think they would. It's like, oh, it's a Metallica song. No, that's Bob Seger.
Right. That's funny. Well, that's good. I like it. And then just real quick before we wrap up, I just want to ask you about Saigon Kick, because maybe I'm the only person that wasn't positive. In case anybody else had the same question as me, seeing Jason's Van Beeler Orchestra records coming out, and you with this now, Saigon Kick is still an ongoing entity as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I talked to Phil just yesterday, the day before, for this stuff. Beeler and I talked before he went on the cruise with Jeff. He and Jeff played here in Bluffton, South Carolina, and I went down and jammed with them. When we did the Monsters of the Mountain with Cold Sweat last year, Jeff and Jason were on there, and so saw them. So yeah, I mean, Saigon Kick as an entity, we've talked about possibly doing shows for the anniversary of Water later this year, but that's a matter of Jason's so busy. Like I said, he's got the Beeler Baron von Bielski Orchestra, and Phil's got his stuff and I got my stuff. So if we can, it'd be fun. But it's a matter of just getting the stars to align. But yeah, because people always wonder, like, especially 30 years on, are you guys at each other's throats when you hang out? Like, no, we just hang out. We act like idiots. It's fun. We have a great time.
Right.
Because there's a unique shared experience there, and Phil brings this up often. He's like, no matter what happens with the three of us, nobody else but us did that. So nobody else understands it. So we can all count on each other for that. And get it. Like when we, I mean, this sounds so Spinal Tap, but in '94, we got a letter from our label, I think it was Atlantic, who said, you guys have 3 top 10 songs in Indonesia. And we're like, all right, whatever. Not realizing Indonesia is a country of 250 million people. Like, oh my God. So we had a #1 song on the Water record. It was I love the song I Love You. And we're like, okay, well, we'll go over and we'll see what happens. We were playing the same place as Metallica played, selling them out. Wow. Yeah. I had a bodyguard, which was just, hilarious. I'm like, I've got a bodyguard. But it was an awesome experience. So the 3 of us are the only ones who, when our guitar player, Pete, who was with us at the time, we're the only ones who did that. So to be able to look at each other and go, okay, I understand that, and you understand that about me, and we went through it together, is something as we get older, I'm sure, is becoming more and more valuable.
Yeah. Well, I always think so too, but sometimes even just in friendships, period, for whatever reason, some party doesn't want to keep it going. But and I talk about that a lot. Like, why would that be? Especially for musicians that, because you share a lot, especially if you started out together when you're starving and high school dances and hoping to get somewhere, to see guys that do end up becoming enemies and turn their back on each other. It's so hard to fathom that, because like you say, you had that shared experience that was a big part of your life at one point. Yep. And as you get older, those become cherished memories. You know, you're not necessarily living in the past, but it's nice to revisit every once in a while because it's a good feeling.
With someone who gets it. Yeah, like there was, you know, we got all these medical things that everyone's doing now. That, oh, I'm getting this, and we're getting a colonoscopy, and we're doing this and that. And one of the guys was like, oh, man, I got good at colonoscopy. I said, yeah, well, we've toured Indonesia, so you've already done that. Trust me, you'll be fine. It's like, oh, you're kidding me. It's like, I said, yeah, the prep is just like it. Just picture yourself in Indonesia. You went to the bad sushi place. You know, you'll be fine. You've already done this. You got it.
That's great. Well, I hope you guys, because Water was the first record that you were there for. You came in with the second record, but right. Water was the third record, but that's the first one that you played on all the tracks, I believe.
Yep,
right?
yep. I was on that one, Devil in the Details, and like part of Bastards, I think. And then, of course, the compilations and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Water was the first one when I was there from the word go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
so
Lizard
guys do get to do something behind that this year.
Yeah. It definitely, the cool part is it's had 30 years for people to find it. Mm-hmm. And someone, we were at a barbecue and someone said, dude, I'm looking at your reviews here on iTunes. I was like, yeah. He said, you don't have like lukewarm fans. I said, what do you mean? He goes, according to them, you're the best band that was ever, that ever walked the earth. I said, yeah, we are really lucky that our fans are passionate. They absolutely believe in us. They support us. They've always been that way. And when we do the cruises, and you like I said, I like being out and about, and you run into them, out on the deck or at the pool or at dinner, and they just tell you, well, I did this and I did that to your tunes, and these. It's so great to see you and meet you. And they're like, can I ask you anything? And I always say, yeah, I'll tell you if you're not getting an answer, but go ahead, ask. Fine, And it's such a reminder that without them, we wouldn't have done anything. Mm-hmm. So, which doesn't mean let yourself get walked over. There's privacy, but it's. I think sometimes if you run away from that stuff, that's the harder they'll chase you, because they just want to get a couple answers. We were at lunch. I was sitting with Jason, and some guy was like 2 tables over, and he holds up the Cold Sweat. He looks at me, and I look at him, and he holds up the Cold Sweat. No, first of all, his first look was kind of like, "Oh, that's you." And I gave him a look. I was like, "Yeah." I turned back, we're eating, we're talking, and I look back over. He's got the Cold Sweat CD booklet or the poster. He goes like this. So I got up and went over and sat with him and ate lunch with him. He lost his mind. He's like, I can't believe you just came. I was like, well, dude, we're on a boat. I couldn't run away. But I was like, if you went to that much trouble to keep that thing from 1990 and bring it with you.
Bring it here, yeah.
What do you want? I'll be happy to sign it. I'm happy to, sing a song for you, maybe do some imitations, something. Glad to. Absolutely happy to.
That's awesome. That's got to warm your heart.
It does, man, because it's one of the rare occupations where everybody starts out the same. So my joke is always, if you took, Bono and Gene Simmons and, Ringo and me, and you threw us in a garage, give us about 5-10 minutes, we'd find something to play. Mm-hmm. Something, I don't know what it would be,
right?
But we would, and not a lot of occupations are like that. You don't get a bunch of dentists at a barbecue going, hey, the guy over there looks like he needs a root canal. Hey, let's throw him in the garage and let's drill it out. Woohoo! No, it's musicians are different like that. And we all kind of start out the same way. Right. I remember hanging around with Gene Simmons, and I realized there were 2 Gene Simmons. There was Gene, who's Gene, he's this, and he's Gene the icon. And then there was, as I called it, Gene the guy in the band, who went to the same thing I did. Same thing. Playing the gigs, trying stuff out, didn't work, looked like a fool. Girlfriend that's a pain in the ass. Girlfriend that's fine. You tried the first gig. We're not getting signed. Just like everybody has the same story. It's just at one point somebody's lucky enough to have the right timing and the right everything and hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
But just because you hit the jackpot doesn't mean you're going to make a career out of the jackpot.
Right. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Which always brings me back to, I think every musician feels the same way too, is that's why you have to create music that's from here and not chasing trends or anything, because you have to, because success is what you make of it. And it's not always going to be platinum albums. It's going to be creating a piece of art that means something to you, right? And what's in you and putting it out there. And if it makes you $1 or it makes you $1 million, doesn't matter. You're going to do it either way. You know?
Right. Yeah. I think if you're yourself, it's easier to do something. It's more genuine. But yeah, if you try, and we've all seen bands that try and they had a career, like you held up the Molly Hatchet earlier. There was a period where they kind of like didn't become Molly Hatchet. They had kind of mid-'80s haircuts and Floyd Rose guitars, and you're like, that's not Molly Hatchet. Molly Hatchet is like Les Pauls and songs with, oh, come on, that's Molly Hatchet.
Right.
I don't want to hear Wang Bar and Molly. Wow, no. But you start listening to people at the record label, like, well, you guys did this, and you guys did this, you're going to realize. Then it doesn't come from here anymore. It comes from someone else, and then down you go.
Well, that was the business side. That's what happened with a lot of musicians. They were kind of forced in those days because you probably still owed the label a bunch of money because Lord knows you're not getting the money. So, I think that happened a lot. All of a sudden you're bringing in outside songwriters because, we have to chase a hit. And it's not because the musicians are wanting that per se. It's just because contractually they're kind of obligated and don't really have a choice. I used to get asked that a lot back in the radio days when a Diane Warren or somebody would suddenly be working with a rock guy. Like, well, why is that? Or they're selling out there. And I was like, no, it doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't even mean that the musician wants that. It's business too. It's not, you got to remember that word is part of the sentence, right? It's not, Kinell makes music, in those days. Oh no, they're on MCA Records or whoever it might be. Well, they're in the music business. And so the business part comes in, and sometimes it makes things ugly and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I always look at that and think, there's good things and bad things, because at least you could get upfront financing without having to go to a bank with a whole business plan necessarily.
Right.
There was that aspect that was good, but then, creatively, unless you had creative people running the record label themselves that also are musical artists, when it became more business oriented and spreadsheets and numbers, that's what starts sucking the life out of it. Right.
Right. Yeah.
There's nothing perfect. Just like today, I think we spoke a little bit before we started recording this about why I even started doing the podcast, because people don't know really, even though there's a million channels, they don't know where to go exactly to find new music without having to a lot of work on their own. And we got spoiled growing up. You turn on the radio and you could trust your favorite radio station to turn you on to the latest and greatest. Now there's not one single funnel that you can go to, and you have to be more proactive and look for stuff if you still care about it. So, so today you don't have, musicians can create whatever the heck they want and release things independently. So that's great from the creative aspect, but then you got the financial aspect that isn't there. And, touring, for example, or supporting, even just getting distribution, getting your widespread. You could probably do it. You could probably work with a distributor and get it out there, but again, takes upfront cash. So the record labels weren't all bad. There was some good pieces of it too. No,
I mean, we still owe Atlantic a chunk of money, and the crazy thing about it is, you spend this money and you owe it to them, but they're not saying, okay, going to put a lien on your house until I get it. It's not a mortgage.
Right.
The weird thing about it is, though, if let's say it is a mortgage and you pay off the house, the bank still owns the house if you use the record company model, because you could have paid off all the expenses and made the money, but they still own your stuff.
Right.
Which is kind of a wacky business model. But again, I did the whole cold sweat, like from signing to dissolution, and we didn't owe anybody anything.
Nice.
And it wasn't exactly like they gave us $20 and said, here you go, kid. No, it was videos, and it was airplay, and it was touring, and it was recording the record. It was the producer, and it was on the photo shoots.
And it was in stores. I can attest to that. Saw it at my record store.
Yeah. God, I used to love doing in stores. It was just so much fun. To be sitting there and just someone comes up and they're not quite sure what they're going to get out of you. And I just loved playing with people and just saying, hey, how you doing? And they're just like, I didn't think you were that tall. Well, I am, you know, how you doing? You know, and if they're wearing something like a team or whatever, you know, try and strike up a conversation about that. And,
Right.
but again, I'm a bit of an extrovert, so it's fun because I've been in bands with guys who are just like, oh God, this is just, it's torture for them. I feel so bad.
Well, it's good that they're playing with you then, because you can be the face and do the stuff that they're uncomfortable with.
Right. But back to your point about the ability to kind of chart your course. I've been lucky enough in my career to talk to people who were very generous with information. And one night in Hollywood in '89, we're at this place called the Cat and Fiddle. And we're sitting there. It's me and Anthony, our drummer in Cold Sweat, Anthony White, and a friend of mine named Chris Marks, who played with a guy named Alex Mossy. He played with some other people too. And we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden Rick Nielsen appears at the end of the table. And now I'm a huge Cheap Trick fan. When I was in Madison, we used to rent gear from Ken Anamani, so we'd have the PA would set that Cheap Trick logo on. I was like, this is going to get any better.
Right.
And so I'm looking at it like, there's Rick. It's Rick. And he goes, hey. I'm like, hi, Rick. And I'm looking at Anthony. He's looking at me like, oh, my God, what is going on here? And again, when I bought Budokan, if you told me this was going to happen, I'm like, yeah, right, whatever.
Right.
And he goes, you guys just got signed, didn't you? And I went, matter of fact, yeah, we did. And he goes, you look like lambs being led to slaughter. And I was like, oh, boy. I said, Rick, want to sit down? And he did. And for the next 20 to 30 minutes, he gave us an education on the music business and being on a label and dealing with management and dealing with, like you said, outside songwriters and having the label come pressure you with that. And it was just invaluable. So 3 years later, I'm in Florida and I'm playing with Saigon Kick now. And we'd done shows with Cheap Trick, and I went to see him, and they were amazing. It might as well have been a Heaven Tonight tour because the set list was like mostly that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I see him afterwards, and I say, hey man, I gotta say thank you for something. He's immediately suspicious. And I go, yeah, what? And I told him the whole story, and he's like, was I drunk? I said, you might have been. He goes, yeah, you probably were too. And I just chuckled. I said, but I mean it. Thanks, man. We were able to use everything. And he kind of dropped the Rick Nielsen, facade for a second. He's like, you're welcome. Glad to help. But it was, again, back to the uniqueness of this business. Mm-hmm. I still wanted to say, how did he know? Because he didn't hear us. It's not like we're going to do this, we're going to sign. We're talking about girls and stuff, and beer, and we're the Fat and Kid. We're just happy we'll be signed. But he saw something. Yeah, and
your faces somehow. Yeah,
he was right too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, well let's get this wrapped up. We've been at this a long time, so let's circle back to our Kinell record. So I definitely, at the end of the interview here, I'm going to add the single again. We did play it on our weekly music show, but I want to add that again.
Thank you.
And then I also want to add, since it's my early favorite, I want to add Say Goodbye.
Sure.
But I thought I'd like to have you pick out one song from it as well that we'll add to this interview.
How about Kingpin?
Kingpin.
I like Kingpin.
That's the one that's got the bluesy opening, right?
No, that's
the one before.
That's What Have I Done? No, Kingpin is like the like when Thin Lizzy would do kind of that R&B funk stuff with the horns and that sort of stuff. So it's about two Boston crime lords fighting it out.
Perfect. All right. I wrote it down, so I'll make sure that is the one. So that's awesome. Okay. Anything else we should know about this project, this band that we didn't cover?
No, I think we got it all. I'm just so happy with the fact that we were able to bring it to fruition, and then get it out and then get it to people. Because you always have your hope that if you're doing something, you like it, because like you said, if it comes from here, it's going to hit someone else in the same spot. And it seems to be doing that. But with this industry the way it is now, you could have the greatest album in the world, but if nobody knows about it, in a very crowded marketplace, it's just swimming by itself. And the crazy part about the old days, I mean, this makes it sound like I got age spots blowing up on my hand, but there was a meritocracy. Not everybody got signed. You couldn't, even on a local level, if you released something regionally, you were still a big band. There was a band on Madison, well, Milwaukee called Bad Boy. That did
I remember Bad Boy.
Yeah, but they regionally sold records and sold them well, and they'd already been on United Artists. That doesn't happen. I was like, the bar to getting a product out there has been lowered so far, which is good, with hard drives and that sort of stuff. But it seems like anybody can do it.
Right.
And in the old days, like it's still astounding me that like Cheap Trick took a while to get signed, or Van Halen took a while to get signed. I was like, how? You know, well, the other competition was just that good. Whereas now, if you're the OK band and you're opening first on a 5-band bill at, the Tin Roof in Charleston, you could probably have a record out. You know, how good is it? I don't know, but you got it and it's out. So people have to sift through that. And that's what makes the process a little slower. But to something else you said earlier, I still think the best way to find out about new music is still your friends. Your friends, hey man, you got to hear this band. You got to hear this. You got to hear that. I mean, because I look around too. I stumble on things all the time. But if a friend of mine says, hey man, you got to hear this because it's this or because it's that, or I know, like being in Saigon Kick, we were very all over the map, very quirky, very open to what our music palettes were. So this friend of mine, Paulo, he's the one I really count on for, like, dude, you got to hear this Japanese this. You got to hear this German this. There's this American band this. There's an Australian band. There's one called the Chats. They're New Zealand. They're Australian and New Zealand. And they're a punk trio. And I'm like, where did you find these guys? But he did. And he sent it to me. He's like, you're going to love it. And he was right. So it's always your friends, your family, or your bandmates. You're going to totally dig this. Check it out.
Yeah, big time. No, word of mouth like that, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's my circle too. My friends mostly end up coming to me, asking me, what should I check out? And I give them somebody that I just heard.
Yeah.
But it works both ways. They'll give me something too every now and again. Like, oh gosh, there's a band that I got turned on to because of a friend of mine. Bad Luck Friday. There's a band for you right now. I'll tell you.
Okay.
They're out of England. Kind of a blues rock band.
Right.
An album out toward the end of the last year.
Okay.
Freaking phenomenal. And the guy that's the leader of the band, I came to find out, if you're in the harmonica world, in those circles, he's a big deal in the world of harmonica. But this music, it's hard rock stuff, which is, the main thing that I love. But with harp. On pretty much every track, as opposed to a Zeppelin or Aerosmith track where there's only harp on some songs, but it's really, really good. So you're right. I mean, I learn about music from friends. My daughter knows the kind of music I like, and I have another young musician friend, and I love it because this way I get brand new other young bands that I might not have otherwise discovered from the young folks, and then all the guys more in my age group, they all find new stuff too that they'll send to me. Hey, this is in the vein of whatever. These guys sound like UFO, or a friend of mine just texted me today, which I had already heard of the band, but about a band that's kind of a Rush sounding band that have a record out. And and I wrote back to them, thanks for letting me know about them. I actually bought one of their songs on iTunes. I'm familiar with them, but yeah, so that you're right, and that is the best. But again, for the musician though, it's a whole different ballgame though, because you don't have that mass exposure. Like I was thinking about that when I do the music show for this podcast too. Yeah, I don't know how many people listen to this for sure, because the downloads kind of go over time and they grow and grow and grow. So hey, I don't know for sure how many people listen. Where in the radio days, we would get daily stats.
Yes.
You knew every day what your cumulative audience was, hour by hour. So I knew for sure I could comfortably say, oh yeah, there was 8,000 people tuned in or whatever when I played Modern Day Cowboy. So I know 8,000 people heard it. I can't do that with this. I don't know how many people heard it at a given moment, but so that's kind of different. But yeah, as far as just enjoying music and learning about it, I think you're absolutely right. All right.
There's one I stumbled on Instagram, I think it was. It's a British band. I think it's a father and son and a drummer. They're power trio, and they're just a Motorhead template. And they're really good because they're not like taking the Mickey out of Motorhead. They're clearly influenced, and it sounds like Motorhead, but it doesn't sound like they're ripping them off. So it's kind of like the Kinell thing, I guess. It's probably why I like them.
An homage,
yeah. And but the songs are good. I mean, that's to me, it's still all about the song. I don't care how well you can play, how great you can sing, how cool do you look. All helpful, but is the song good? If that song is there, man, I'm in.
Right.
I'm in.
Yep, I'm 100% the same way. Did you say you do know the name of that band? Because I love Motorhead, so I'd like to hear.
Oh yeah, I think it's pronounced Azovmel. It's like ASOVMEL, if I'm not mistaken. Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay, find me on Instagram.
But RadioBypass is on there.
Okay, I'll find you, and I'll find an Azovmel. I'll send you the link because it was one of those things I stumbled on because the guy's wearing white boots and the glasses, and he's playing a Rick real high. And I'm just going, okay, I know he's who he wants to be there. And then the song starts. I'm like, wow, that's really good. And it's an homage, but they back it up, and they're out there playing. I don't think they have a label. They're just out there playing and doing it. And they love what they're doing, man. It's all from the heart.
That's awesome.
I'm a big fan of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, me too. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, sir. Well, I am going to let you go. We are going to wrap this up.
Cool.
So everybody, check out Kinell. Stick around after you no longer hear us talking, because you're going to hear 3 songs from the brand new Crash Burn Rebirth album. And if you want to pick up a hard copy, which I highly recommend because I'm still that way, look for Kinell on Bandcamp. No Kinell website per se, right?
No, not yet, because I've been told, you should have a website to point to. I was like, well, everyone goes to iTunes first, no matter what. Then it's okay. They go to TuneCore maybe, or they go like Spotify. But if you want to get the actual material, you have to go for Bandcamp. Again, because they pay the artist.
Right, which is kind of important. So
yeah, I mean, you got to look at it as it's seed money to be able to keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly. So you got that, everybody. Support your musicians. Buy product. Okay.
Yep. Don't just support your local musicians. Yeah, and your favorite ones always.
That's right. So check out Kinell at Bandcamp and stick around right now. I think we'll kick it off with the first single. So everybody, this is Kinell with Take It All, coming right up. And thank you so much, Chris, for joining us on Radio Bypass and telling us about the band.
Thank you for having me. Anytime, I'd be happy to come back. It was a great time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Don't ever push a man with his back to the wall. He's got nowhere to go, and you can only fall. Let him have his freedom, let him find his place. He can keep his pride. took this for that. The border's insecure. Who was the fat cat?